What's poppin', my boys? It's Super Poke Guy here, and today I got the rare Nintendo Switch, which is sold out everywhere. Now let's play all the games for it. Where's Pokemon?
They didn't make that yet.
Well, what can they make on this thing?
Anything, Poke Guy. Anything.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Hello and welcome, I'm the Legendary Pokemaster, and today we are talking about Pokemon games on the Switch, which just came out. There's basically obviously going to be a Pokemon game on the Switch, so we are making a video here to try to find out what it is, because there are like 50 different possibilities, but I'm narrowing it down to a few. So without further ado, let's start. First off, the main possibility that I've been talking about every month now, basically, is a chance that the next Pokemon games will come as the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I did a more comprehensive analysis of this in a video that's actually titled that theory, so I'll basically sum it up. Diamond and Pearl are the next in line for remaking after Ruby and Sapphire have already been remade with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which were the last remakes. Also, it seems like every remake corresponds with the console that can't play the original games. For instance, the DS can't play Gold and Silver, so they made Heart Gold and Soul Silver for it. The 3DS can't play Ruby Sapphire or Emerald, so they made Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire for that. Now, the Switch can't play Diamond and Pearl, while the 3DS could, so this kind of hints at an impending remake. And yeah, I know the Game Boy Advance could still play Red and Blue, but they made Fire Red and Leaf Green anyway, even though, yeah, maybe it kind of fits into pattern with like the Game Boy Micro, but that's kind of stretching it. There's also the theory that there will be Red and Blue remakes on the Switch. However, these are a bit more out there than Diamond and Pearl, so I'm not going to elaborate on them much. If you want the full rundown, just watch this. It will be great, I guarantee it. Anyway, this is probably going to be on the Switch. But we don't know if any other Pokemon titles are going to come first. Once again, there's always the possibility of something like Pokémon Tournament or another side game that's not part of the main series being on the Switch, but we're not really here to talk about that. So where do we find out if a main series game will come before the Diamond and Pearl remakes on the Switch? As far as I could tell and believe, there are two possible Pokemon games that could come first. The first option is a port of Sun and Moon to the 3DS, and the second is a fan code name for a Switch exclusive game named Pokémon Stars. Let's look at Sun and Moon first, because they're my favorite Pokemon games. Noob, why don't you like the classics more, like Red and Blue? No. I know Nintendo has done this before, a recent example actually being Breath of the Wild, which took me like 5 hours to download on the Wii U. But I think this isn't really going to happen. If you think about it, despite the Switch's huge power jump in comparison to the 3DS, things would actually have to be watered down in some ways to allow for a Sun and Moon port. You'd have to take away a screen. Yeah, and that functionality is pretty vital throughout the game. Sure, you can move all that stuff to the top screen, but that would just make it more cluttered. And it wouldn't be as convenient as just looking down at your map. You'd probably have to open up a menu or something just to get to Rotom decks. Also, the resolution would have to be upscaled a lot from 360p, which is the 3DS's resolution, to make it playable on a TV. And these graphics are not quite intended for that. In an interview with Polygon, Pokemon even said that a lot of stuff would have to change in order for Pokemon titles to be introduced to the Switch. So why go through all the effort of changing up Sun and Moon so much if you could just make a new game centered around the features of the Switch? Plus, everyone already has Sun and Moon on 3DS who would want to buy it, so there goes that. Then we transition over to Pokemon Stars, aka the Switch exclusive Pokemon game. Once again, things would have to be changed quite a bit. They would need to, once again, move everything to one screen. That is actually possible for a brand new game, as shown through the general disuse of the bottom screen in the 4th generation. They can make it like that, minus the Poketch, which hasn't been around for a long time anyway. However, in terms of release placement, this seems more likely to come out before the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Usually, remakes are the last games in a generation, probably because it gives the developers more time to transition between consoles. It also allows there to be more time between the remakes and the originals as to make them more justified in public view. Since the Switch is new and still has a lot of hype around it, Pokemon needs to release something quick to cash in. And a game like this being a standalone and also being able to show off the Switch's power, unlike a remake would probably make more sense. So we've narrowed it down to Pokémon Stars, but what will that be? It could either be a new adventure or possibly an enhanced Alola game. I know I said a port is unlikely, but starting from scratch still is possible. For this question, it's actually kind of hard to tell. Technically, based on pre-established patterns, which I kinda grew to distrust in the Pokemon community, Stars will be an enhanced Alola game. But this question is really based on your judgment of the situation. So what do you think? What will be the first Pokemon game to reach the Switch, and what will be in it? Please leave a comment down below. You could also subscribe to see videos like this twice a week. Regardless, I still haven't beaten Pokemon Sun, and I'll see you in the next video.